Someone's got to tell the truth. The Seahawks defense has fallen apart, and that might just be the best thing that could have happened. This is Ethan Carter, and today we're digging deep, because when one unit sinks, another one can rise up even stronger. With Devin Witherspoon getting back to practice, there's a new sense of hope, but it's walking hand in hand with urgency. Meanwhile, all eyes are on Baltimore, where a familiar name to Macdonald could be the answer for our pass rush. And what if the key to the future is already playing at LSU, or on an ex-Eagle that everyone else overlooked? You ready to face reality? All right, my fellow Seattle Seahawks fan, before we get into the nitty-gritty of today's news, I have a personal favor to ask. If you've been following the Seahawks Insider Report and you dig our analysis but you still haven't subscribed, please just take a second and hit that subscribe button. It is absolutely crucial for the channel and for making sure our community of Seahawks fans keeps on growing. Thank you so much for the support. 204 yards after the catch. Yeah, you heard me right, 204. Out of the 379 passing yards Baker Mayfield put up on us, more than half of it came after our guys just couldn't bring anybody down. Is it embarrassing? Yup. Is it unacceptable? You bet it is. But before we hit the panic button, there's a light at the end of the tunnel that could change everything. Devin Witherspoon is coming back. And look, I lived through the Legion of Boom. I know what a game-changing dominant cornerback looks like. And Spoon has that potential. But he's got to be on the field. The question nobody wants to ask but everyone's thinking is this: does his return fix our pathetic missed tackle problem, or are we just slapping a band-aid on a gushing wound? Because let's be honest, man, Mayfield completed 29 of 33 passes. The rookie Emeka Egbuka had 7 catches for 163 yards and a touchdown, and we gave up 7 conversions on 11 third down attempts. That ain't just about Witherspoon being out. That's about an entire defense that failed to do the most basic thing: tackle. Mike Macdonald was straight up about it after the game, and I respect him for it. He didn't throw his players under the bus. He took the blame and said it's about technique and having all 11 guys swarming to the ball. But here's what worries me. Macdonald admitted we've been missing tackles all year. It's just that before, we had more guys near the ball to clean up the mess, so it didn't hurt as much. Now, when it's one-on-one in the open field, when it's just you against him, the failure is exposed, raw and ugly. And you know what that means? It means Tampa Bay owned us in time of possession. 33 minutes to our 26. They held the ball. They controlled the tempo. They wore our defense down, and they made it look easy. The good news, and I am clinging to this for dear life, is that Witherspoon was back at practice midweek. Macdonald said both he and Derek Hall were going to try to practice, and that Spoon's knee scans showed positive progress. Listen, I don't know about you, but I need to believe that getting our Pro Bowl cornerback back is going to make a difference, not just for his coverage, but for what he brings to this defense. An identity, a presence, a swagger. Without him, we looked lost. With him, maybe we can remember who we are. But here's the real dilemma. And this is what we got to talk about now. Even if Witherspoon comes back, even if he's 100%, what do we do about the other positions that are bleeding out? Baltimore is having a fire sale, and we should be buying. It just happened, folks. The Ravens sent Odafe Oweh to the Chargers for a safety and a 2026 fifth-round pick. Oweh wasn't producing much this year, but he had 12 sacks last season, so this isn't some scrub they're just dumping. It's a player who just didn't fit their scheme anymore. And you know who knows that Baltimore scheme inside and out? Mike Macdonald. You know who is desperately in need of edge rushers now that DeMarcus Lawrence and Derek Hall are hurt? We are. And you know who is still over there available, playing at an insane level and was completely unlocked by Macdonald when he was the Ravens DC? Kyle Van Noy, 34 years old, last year of his contract, 9.5 sacks in 2023 when Macdonald got there, 12 sacks in 2024, already blowing past his personal best. This guy is having the best years of his career under our head coach. So, can someone please explain to me why John Schneider isn't on the phone right now making this call? Look, I get the hesitation with his age. I get he's not a long-term solution, but you know what? We don't need the long-term right now. We need 2025. We need someone who can step in and produce immediately while our guys get healthy. Uchenna Nwosu is healthy, surprisingly, and so is Boy Mafi. But with Lawrence coming back from an injury and Hall with an oblique that could sideline him for a while, we are dangerously thin at that position. Van Noy would be the perfect plug-and-play solution. He already knows Macdonald's system. He doesn't need time to get up to speed. He just comes in and executes, period. And the cost? A mid to late round pick, maybe a 6th or a 7th, and a $500,000 per game roster bonus. We can easily afford that. Schneider loves these low-risk, high-reward moves, and this one has win written all over it. Think about it. If Baltimore is in sell mode after just 5 games, if they shipped off Away, who still has value, Van Noy in the last year of his deal at 34 years old wouldn't be hard to pry away. The question is, do we want to win now, or are we just going to sit back and hope everyone gets healthy and cross our fingers? Because I've lived through the wasted years, I've seen us let windows close because we didn't make the right moves at the right time. Macdonald knows Van Noy knows Macdonald. The chemistry is there. The fit is natural. And hell, even if our top 4 edge rushers all come back healthy, having Van Noy just adds critical depth. But there's another problem a trade can't fix, another hole that's bleeding out and might need an even more drastic long-term solution. Rick Woolen. That name either gives you hope or a headache, and lately, man, it's been more of the second one. After a sensational rookie year that had us all dreaming of a new era of dominant corners in Seattle, Woolen has been inconsistent on his best days and flat out lost on his worst. The stats don't lie. He's allowed a 61.1% completion rate this year, the worst of his career. With a passer rating against him of 106.7, PFF has him ranked 151 out of 158 qualifying cornerbacks. That's not just bad, that is a dumpster fire. And look, I hate to throw a player under the bus, but we have to be realistic about what we're seeing on the field. Woolen has the frame, he has the speed, he has everything you want in a modern corner, but it feels like the mental game hasn't clicked yet. The instincts just aren't at the level we need them to be. So the question that nobody wants to ask but is screaming in our faces is, how much more time do we give him? Because while we wait, there's a kid playing for LSU who is making every single NFL scout drool, Mansour Delane. A transfer from Virginia Tech earlier this year, Delane is already being projected as a 1st or 2nd round pick in the 2026 draft. And the reasons are obvious when you watch his tape. Just 30% of the passes thrown his way have been completed this year, the best mark among all college cornerbacks with at least 150 coverage snaps, 4 pass breakups, 1 interception, and he is literally shutting down his side of the field. Sound like anyone we know? Richard Sherman. No, Delane isn't Sherman. Nobody is. But his style of play, the way he reads routes, the way he breaks on the ball before the quarterback even lets it go, that is exactly the type of player who thrives in Mike Macdonald's zone scheme. And here's what keeps me up at night. If we don't do something about that cornerback spot opposite Witherspoon, this entire defensive rebuild, all the talent we have at other positions, is going to be wasted because teams will just attack Woolen's side of the field over and over and over until they beat us. It's already happened. It is happening. And it will keep happening if something doesn't change. Delane would be the perfect solution, young, hungry, already a master of zone coverage with the natural instincts that Woolen is still trying to develop. And look, I get that we're talking about the 2026 draft, that it doesn't solve our immediate problem for 2025, but sometimes you have to plan for the future while you're trying to survive the present, and Delane should be circled in red on our draft board. But wait, because while we're talking about future corners and edge rushers who may or may not come, there's another move happening right now, right under our noses, that could either be genius or completely irrelevant. Maxon Hook. Remember that name? Because he's either going to be the next success story to come off our practice squad, or he's going to be just another body taking up space while Julian Love recovers from his hamstring injury. We just signed this safety out of Toledo, an undrafted guy who was projected as a third-day pick after a solid college career. 352 tackles, 8 tackles for loss, 7 interceptions, and 15 passes defended in 4 years. Earning all MAC honors 3 times. That's not star-level production, but it's consistent production. He's a guy who shows up, does the dirty work, and doesn't disappear when it counts. Philadelphia signed him as a UDFA, cut him at the end of training camp, and now we're scooping him up for our practice squad after putting Shane Lemieux on the practice squad IR. First reaction? Meh. Second reaction after thinking it over? Wait a minute, this could be interesting. Because you know what pattern I'm seeing? Josh Jobe. Remember him? Cornerback who came from the Eagles as a UDFA, went through their practice squad, we picked him up, put him on our practice squad, and suddenly the guy blew up and became one of our best defensive backs. He's allowed just 2 catches on 8 targets in the first few weeks this season for 8 total yards, playing like a shutdown corner after nobody believed in him. So yeah, Hook could be absolutely nothing, just another name that fades into obscurity. Or he could be another diamond in the rough that we managed to polish because our development system and Macdonald's eye for hidden talent are better than most. The deal with Hook is simple. He's a solid tackler, he's got a motor to chase down plays on the other side of the field. He's not the most explosive athlete, but he makes up for it with discipline and awareness. Exactly the kind of profile that can work as a special teamer while he learns the defensive system. If Love comes back quickly, Hook stays on the practice squad getting reps. If Love takes a while, or if Rayshawn Jenkins or Kevon Wallace don't hold down the fort, Hook could get the call up to the active roster and show what he's got. I'm not going to pretend this move changes our destiny in 2025, but I'm also not going to ignore the fact that smart teams find contributors in places other teams discard, and we've done that well in recent years. Hook is 24, he's still young, still developing, and if he can accomplish half of what Jobe did, it'll be a win. The point is, while we're debating million-dollar trades and first-round draft picks, sometimes the solution is right under our nose, in some kid from Toledo who just wants a chance to prove he belongs. Will he get that chance? Only time will tell, but at the very least, it's one more piece in the defensive puzzle we're trying to assemble on the fly. So that's the deal, my friend. Our defense is being rebuilt in real time, in the middle of the season, with a few loose screws and some that are missing entirely. Witherspoon's return gives us hope, but one player can't fix all these missed tackles. Van Noy would be the smart move, but will Schneider have the guts to make the call? Woolen needs to be replaced in the draft, but until then, we keep bleeding yards. And Hook? Could be a genius move or a total wash. The question that's left is brutal. Are we fine-tuning the machine or just delaying the inevitable collapse? Do you think this defense still has that Legion of Boom DNA, or have we lost that forever? Drop a comment, subscribe to the channel, and let's find out together if 2025 is a rebirth or just more of the same.